Coming up here on the San Francisco 49ers Report by Chat Sports, my name is Chase Sr. The NFL announced this week a hefty salary cap increase for all teams in 2025. So I want to go through some moves that I think the Niners could make to create even more cap space and what moves they could make to add to their roster with the more financial flexibility coming their direction. Before we get started, if you want the 49ers to be aggressive this offseason and to go all in hopes that they can complete that quest for 6 and get that 6th Lombardi, I want you to hit that thumbs up icon like the video. If not, I want you to comment why. So business is booming in the National Football League. The NFL informing teams this week that the 2025 salary cap will be between $277.5 million and $281.5 million. That is an increase of between 22 plus and 26 plus million dollars year over year from 2024 to 2025. And now the 49ers have a lot of cap space at their disposal. Around $50 million is the current estimate. So that means that the NFL salary cap will have increased by at least $53 million over the last 2 years, number one. And number two, for teams who are aggressive like the Niners, who are very active in free agency, they will have more money to work with now, more financial flexibility to have at their disposal for 2025. But the NFL salary cap is only going to continue to go up because of the popularity of this game. You don't believe me? Look at these figures, which really are mind-blowing. In 2011, it wasn't that long ago, the NFL salary cap for all teams was $120 plus million. And it's pretty much gone up, pretty sizably, in fact, every year since then, especially over the last several years. And so 2011, it's at $120 plus million. And then you flip the page. 2020, it was 198. It went down to 182.5 in 2021 after that COVID season because fans couldn't attend games. But then it goes back up to 208.2. And then the last couple of years, it's exploded. 224.8 in 2023, 255.4 in 2024, 277.5 to 281.5 in 2025. I know a lot of you complain about some of the prices of going to games. Merchandise can be very expensive. There are more international games nowadays, and this upcoming season, we're going to see several international games. And I get some of the frustrations, but you do get to see the benefits of that as a fan because that makes the league richer, which then gives more money to teams because the salary cap goes up and teams are able to pay players more money. And so what this means for the Niners, more cap flexibility, more money to spend, player contracts will be bigger, and for an aggressive team like San Francisco, who has a model like they have, where the Niners have also been very creative with how they structure these contracts, backloading them, this is great news. And this is an ideal situation. And I think this offseason you will see, and next offseason, because the upcoming TV deal is coming around 2028, 2029, and they're going to start to measure smart TVs and streaming services as part of television ratings. So they're going to be even higher because consumers are really consuming the sport of football a lot through streaming services. It's never been accounted for before. You're going to see a lot of teams sign players this offseason because of that to backloaded contracts that start to set in 2028, 2029, 2030 because teams know that they're going to get a lot more money coming their way with the salary cap increases then, and they'll be able to absorb some of those contracts. So now I want to transition to this. What moves could the Niners now make with some of those extra dollars? We'll talk about that here in just a moment. A reminder, though, to subscribe. You know what I need you to do? Go on down, hit that subscribe button for daily and year-round videos on the Niners. Bang, bang, Niner gang. You know the deal. So, first of all, number one, the Niners will now have more money this offseason and in the offseasons to come to sign external free agents. This is a Niners team that's a little bit light as far as top-tier talent and overall depth. And in free agency, they have more money to play with now. Not quite monopoly money, but they have more money to play with, $50 million coming their way without any moves having been made so far, like trades or cuts or post-June 1 designations. Number two, the Niners will have more money to sign their own free agents. So maybe prior to the salary cap increase, you're thinking a player like Dre Greenlaw is going to be able to come back. Niners might not be able to retain another player like Talanoa Hufanga. With this more money coming their way, they could have some more cash to sign their own free agents. Number three, the Niners can get a deal done with Brock Purdy, and they have the flexibility to structure that deal in a variety of ways. They can give him more money up front. They could backload that contract. They could add dummy years and void years. They could pull off some financial gymnastics so that they can get creative with giving Brock Purdy that contract, giving him that guaranteed money, but for the next few years, the base salary and the cap hit could be lower, affording the Niners to build out the rest of their team despite paying Purdy. Number four, you can extend George Kittle so that he's a lifelong Niner. And if you do that in turn, you create more cap space because his cap hit is very high for 2025. You could restructure a contract for a player like Fred Warner or give him an extension. And if you were to restructure his deal or give him an extension, that could open up about $13 million. The Niners can prioritize, again, signing a player like Dre Greenlaw. I'd love to see the enforcer back. Robert Saleh wants him back. Fred Warner wants him back. Nick Bosa wants him to return. And so now that you have some more money, you might be able to afford a player like that or up your offer to him to appease him to stay. Number seven, if the Niners want to go after a stud edge or a stud defensive tackle, they can. And if they want to trade for a player like Max Crosby, you want to trade for a player like Myles Garrett, you want to sign a player like Von Miller, you want to go after one of the top tier upper echelon defensive tackles in free agency or trade for a player who could be available, you now have some financial wiggle room in order to make a move like that happen. Number eight, the Niners can address a plethora of needs on their team naturally. They have needs at left guard, center, right tackle. Wide receiver might be a need if they move on from Deebo. Tight end too. Maybe a running back, defensive tackle, edge, corner, linebacker, safety. If they want a new kicker and they move on from Jake Moody, you can address that need in free agency too. And so this just offers the Niners and all teams more financial flexibility, but especially for a team like San Francisco, their model is to pay their own players who are stars. And when they have a need in free agency, they're willing to pay that player if they think that that player can help them win games. And so other teams aren't as aggressive in NFL free agency like the Niners are. So they're not going to use those dollars to their advantage, whereas the Niners can. Be sure to give me a follow on X and Instagram, by the way, at Chase_Senior, north of 15,000 followers on X, more than 36,000 followers on IG, in addition to all of the long-form content that I do here on YouTube. I push out and cover the Niners on my social media pages as well.